Welcome to the Meltzone Podcast. This is episode 55. I'm Tom.
And I'm Stefan. And on today's episode, we are discussing licensing of models that we print and actually use for our videos. If we should do that, if we need to do that, if those models are under a non-commercial license, or if it's basically a win-win situation for the creator of the model and for us. So let's see how that turns out. Then on news, there is some rumors going on in Shenzhen that the infamous creator of the Anet A8 might be gone. Then there is a date for East Coast Rep Festival 2020. And I'm asking myself if I killed my first stepper motor driver. Let's see.
Stefan is also asking himself on this episode whether he should start a second German channel, and we discuss whether that makes sense and what pitfalls there might be to that. And then one of the longer topics today, sponsors on YouTube channels, on YouTube videos. Stefan's on mine. What the ups and downs of that are, because there are actually some upsides for you as a viewer as well for us having sponsors. And finally, we answered two questions or comments that we got from you guys. The first one about Stefan's high flow experiments, whether the T-star stamping idea is working out. And finally, composting PLA seems to be an evergreen topic, and we discuss whether that's actually possible and whether the findings somebody has commented on are plausible. Where do we even start with this one?
I thought we had so little to talk about. Now it's so much that we have to talk about. Let's keep it short.
Yeah, well, we've already done an hour of warm-up, as we do before these episodes. Let's just jump into the first one. Licensing, I titled this one. So on Twitter, a week ago or so, I asked, hey, do you think it is appropriate to use Creative Commons non-commercial or all rights reserved, which is a weird license for downloadable 3D models anyways, models, and show them in videos or TikToks or other stuff where people are doing that as their full-time thing, as in me and you. We're both printing 3D models from the internet and we're showing them in videos, and it's our job and we're making money with it. Yeah. So like, is it non-commercial? I mean, with a Creative Commons, with an all rights reserved license, it's technically you can't even do anything with it. So my stance has always been avoid Creative Commons non-commercial models where possible. But if there is one that you just have to print, or if there's no alternative to that model, print it and ask for forgiveness and not for permission. What's your stance on that?
It is hard because I usually just use those models and told myself, yeah, it's free promotion for them, because
true.
By me showing this model online, of course I do earn revenue with the video, and if I would make like a dedicated video for a specific model, I would be earning money with that model. But since I'm not giving away this model physically to anyone, and anyone can touch it, or I'm giving away the raw data or the STL model, I should be fine. I'm completely positive that this is definitely a gray area, and
okay.
I would not like to discuss that in front of a court. But honestly, just from my perspective, I don't see any negative effects for the model owner.
Right, but you're just making the piracy argument. Like you're taking it, you're using it, and you're not taking anything away. You're using it, and the original is still there. There's nothing lost in that regard.
No, I guess the piracy argument is different, because of course you are not stealing anything physically if you are illegally downloading a game, a software, STL or something like that. But you are taking away the opportunity that you as a person buy this product. If I am...
So that there is actual lost revenue there.
There is potential lost revenue. And if I show a model online and people like that model, I think they will not be satisfied by just seeing it in my video. Maybe they are way more satisfied if they go to the rights owner, download their model, or even buy their model. So it's basically a win-win situation for both. But I do understand the point.
Yeah. So with lost revenue, if you're saying, hey, I'm using this in my video, and I'm showing a printout of the file, there is still a potential lost revenue, because you could have signed a licensing agreement for a couple $100 to be able to show it in your videos. That is potential lost revenue. So the model I'm referring to specifically in this case is the articulated dragon by, what was his name? Not Greeble, something like that. I don't know if you can Google that real quick.
The 3D Cults model.
Yeah, it's on Cults, My Mini Factory, articulated dragon.
Yeah.
And that is a model that you buy for, I think it's like $3 or $4. And then My Mini Factory, Cults, etc. get a share of that. But it's a paid model, and depending on where you look, I think on My Mini Factory it's like all rights reserved. On Cults it's the regular Cults 3D license, which I think also excludes commercial use. But the thing is always with CC non-commercial and those sort of licenses, it's always like, please don't sell my model. Please don't sell the 3D model. And also, please don't sell prints of the model. That's like the classic thing that, as far as like what the creator is trying to say with that license, is trying to say.
MacGuy beer.
MacGuy. I knew there was a G in there somewhere. So, yeah, like I said, I think the intent behind I'm reserving more rights on this license is, please don't directly like make money with my model and sell the model itself, or sell prints that are just the model, where there's like no addition to it, I guess. But still, so of course the option is like, why don't you just ask? Why don't you just ask the people if you can print and show their stuff? And yes, I've thought about that, and that is something that's been brought up, and like it makes sense. But if you're asking for permission, there is more of a rat's tail, or more of a Pandora's box you're opening up there than you might think at first. Than you might think at first sight, because permission to use something is a very fine-grained thing. So, for example, model releases, as far as like photo models, or people you have in front of a camera and you interview. Joel, 3D Printing Nerd, has actually had model releases. I remember at ERRF, last time I was there, he had documents he would have his interview partners sign, saying, hey, he can use the footage with them for his purposes on the YouTube channel for further commercial exploitation, if he, I don't know, has a show reel somewhere at some point, or if a TV station wants to license some footage from him, where he's checking for that's all allowed. Also, that there is no royalties that the interviewee in that case wants for every view, or for every video created. It's a very broad, legally speaking, it's a very broad thing you have to check for. And the same for a 3D model. So if I were to ask for permission in a way where the model creator later can't come back and say, no, that's not what I meant. I only meant you could show it in this way, and you showed it in a slightly different way, and they sue you. You would have to have a full legal contract with like, hey, creators granting me a royalty-free, worldwide, non-exclusive license for this, that, for commercial exploitation, and it very easily gets very complex and very hard to sign, honestly. So if you send someone, if you see a model on Prusa printers somewhere, and you send them a legal document to sign it, it's like, hey, sign this. I don't think that they're gonna come back and be like, oh yeah, DocuSign, sure, here, be right with you. So that becomes very difficult really quickly. And if you have that turnaround time of sending out a licensing agreement and waiting for it and then having it come back or nothing come back, you're wasting 3 or 4 days, and then you've got to look for another model. And in the background, I hope nobody can hear that because I forgot 3D printers make noise. There's the Mark III printing with the Revo. That is printing a model right now, and just when you're testing out stuff and you need stuff to print or something that's hot right now on the internet, you can't have that turnaround time of hey, we're just going to spend another 3 days or another 2 cycles, another week, just waiting for the permission to print something.
I guess so far there might not have been any court cases where one of these license owners really sued somebody due to one of these reasons. So for this reason, it's still that gray area.
At least when it comes to like showing it in a video, and it's not like promoting a product directly. Like 3D printers use models to show off their printer capabilities. Or of course physically sold models. That's a no-go as far as I'm aware. But videos, yes. No.
And also the question would be if it would be beneficial for license owners to do such license agreement, because then you as a creator might choose other models to use in your videos. And as I said before, I think in a way it's a win-win situation. You make money or you earn revenue due to your artistic skill making a video, and you are in a way promoting these models so that the license owner could earn revenue with like either a physical product or just downloading the model itself.
Yeah. So in the case that it is a paid model, but still, if it's a free model on Prusa printers or something, there's still a tip button there. And right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying for exposure is fine, but like, you get what I mean.
Yes, I think the very important thing is that there is proper attribution who the model is belonging to. If you are not doing that, I think it's way more not okay than just in this gray area win-win situation.
Yeah.
If you are putting like the name of the creator and the model on screen or in the description and things like that, I think it's fine. And I would say that it's a win-win situation for both. If you're not doing that, it's not a good move.
Yeah. I think that the core problem here is that the licenses that people are choosing to use are not great for stuff like 3D models, where the 3D model itself isn't what is being used. You're using I guess US copyright law has this, it's a transformative thing that you're showing. You're using a transformed version of that model, as in either a 3D render of that model, which is already sort of transformed. You're not showing the STL file itself, or a printout, which is, yes, based on that model and exactly what that model was intended for, but it's not the model itself.
Yeah.
And CC licenses are only really explicit about the model or the piece of art itself that is concerned.
Yeah.
So that's, I think maybe some sort of CC 3D license of a or just in the next Creative Commons licenses do go through revisions. Maybe the next revision of Creative Commons does have a paragraph for that where it's like, hey, we're okay with this work being transformed and used in X way. Just be clear about what is intended with those licenses.
Yeah, I would find that really, really interesting and important, especially for us. But
yeah.
I guess I don't know what's your take on that. Which way will you be going in the future?
Honestly, I wish I would be able to just ask everyone and to do the licensing agreements, but so far, like I said, I've been trying to avoid NC models, non-commercial ones. But like I said, ask for forgiveness. I'm not trying to do any harm here, and like the articulated dragon, I just straight up bought on Cult. I believe I bought it on Cults. Yeah. So there is something to be given back in like the promotion. It's like I said, it's not an easy answer, and it's the entire, hey, can you do this for, can you let me use this model for exposure? Just assuming that isn't great, but so far it's been fine, and I've not run into problems that way. And I always do try to give attribution. Sometimes I forget and then I add it later in the description, but that's the bare minimum at least.
That would be an interesting question for designers and model owners who maybe currently listen to the podcast. If what's their take on exactly this problem? Would they prefer to be asked? Would they prefer to just not use their non-commercial models at all? Or are they totally fine for exposure?
Yeah.
Or for sharing their models or allowing others to show their models for exposure?
Yeah, I've had a couple of designers comment under that tweet, mostly saying, well, just ask. But then the question is, hey, would you sign an actual licensing agreement? Would you sign an actual licensing contract? Or is that not what you meant with just asked? And yeah, because legally there's not much difference of asking and not asking.
Yeah.
So I guess that the next part to the licensing thing is a comment we got from Cheetos Vids, and they're saying, hey, I've got a few designs licensed under CC and was wondering if you guys had advice for when someone wants to make a commercial product from one of my designs. So this is, again, not just showing the design, but actually using their design and putting it into a commercial product or selling it directly. So the question goes on, how to issue a commercial license, any pitfalls, royalties, etc. So first of all, you can definitely issue a commercial license if you've added or if you've released your design first under a CC license. The default is you have all rights reserved to your creations. The only thing that can be done with that is fair use, but fair use definitely does not entail commercialization of the design itself. So with a CC license, you are giving permission to a select audience for select purposes to use your models. And you can give permission in a CC license, but you can also give other permissions in a commercial licensing deal. Those two are not exclusive. You can do either one at the same time. And then as far as license fees, royalties go, I don't know, Stefan, have you ever licensed something out?
I guess not, but I think, well, this is not any legal advice. If you, I think, really want to know how it works, consult a lawyer, but there are maybe just some samples of licensing agreements that you can find online state a specific use in this document, state a specific price. Don't maybe take too little, don't take too much. But it's really hard to say or to give a general answer for that.
And of course, there are different payment modalities. So my experience with licensing is from like stock photos, videos, and of course stock music with Epidemic Sound. The model used to be for the longest time is at least for bigger productions, is you pay an upfront licensing fee and then you pay royalties. So every time, I don't know how exactly it works for TV, but every time that program is shown and it uses some licensed asset, every time that program is shown, is broadcast, there is a certain fee that goes to the copyright owner, to the license giver, licensor in that case. That would be royalties. Or Spotify, basically, every time you listen to a song, the artist gets 0.1 cents or something. That would be royalties. The other end, of course, is you pay once and you can use it as much as you want, and that's what stock footage or video, stock photo or footage sites like what are they called? God, they sponsored my channel before. video something where we have basically a flat rate. You pay $15 a month and you can use as many of their assets as you want. You download them, you can use them forever in your videos. Where Epidemic works the same way. You pay your monthly license fee and you can use as many of their music pieces on as many videos as you want on that one platform. No royalties. That is the royalty-free model.
I guess that's a really good point. These two options, just like saying, okay, yeah, pay $1,000 and you can print and sell this model as many times as you like, or do it the other way around and I want like $2 per part that you sell.
Yeah.
I guess on the one side, when you say, okay, I want per part licensing, the risk is more on your side, because the other person could just like sell 10 of these parts and you get $20. And on the other side, it's the risk of the licensee, the one who licensed your product. And he has to calculate, or she has to calculate, how many of your designs they're going to sell and which is cheaper in the end. And both models are possible.
Yeah, just depends on what you think works better for you.
Yeah.
So I guess that concludes the entire licensing topic. Creative Commons, like I said, it's just not a good license for 3D models or for models that are intended as a transformative base starting point.
Yeah.
Rumors. We have rumors that
yes.
Anet is finally burning up.
Those weren't really those really kind of words. Yeah, that was a tweet. How long was it ago? It was beginning of January. So Anet, the maker of the infamous Anet A8, seems to be gone from the market.
Well, at least they seem to be like sizzling out. They're tapering off as far as like how much the company still exists. So this is a rumor. We're just going to call it rumor because it's not been confirmed in any way by Shenzhen Hustle that they posted or they tweeted out, and they're saying, hey, that they're not buying from their suppliers anymore, and like the employees are gone, and it's just like they just stop existing slowly. So
the website is still online, but I haven't really heard that much from Anet over the last years. I think at least they didn't contact me, or just directly went into the archive. I guess the question
were from September.
Okay, I guess the question for me is, do you think there is, in general, a bit of a consolidation happening on the 3D printer manufacturer market? The bubble is popping, or there have been a ton of different manufacturers, but I'm quite sure that not all of them have been profitable. So what do you think in the next years? Will we have even more manufacturers, or will there be like the Creality, I don't know, the Artillery, only the big brands?
Well, what I'm always asking myself is, when we're seeing all these different brands of 3D printers, like, is it actually a different company that's making these, or is it like one group of people that are releasing I don't know, under 5 different brands, that they're basically one design team, they're making marginal changes, and they're just saying, hey, we are, I don't want to name any brand names here, but you know what I'm saying, right? Where it's not really, where when one brand goes away, it's not like that company is gone, it's just coming back under a different name. So I think that's been happening a lot recently, because there's so many new names that are making 3D printers now, and they're coming and going all the time. It's just it's surprising to see that somebody big, or one of the main names like Anet is starting to fizzle out. Will we see more consolidation? I don't think so.
Okay.
Honestly.
there's still going to be enough market for cheap Ender 3 clones.
Yeah, I mean, there's at least going to be... There's always going to be the opportunity to sell the same product slightly cheaper, slightly different, and generate hype for it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So let's see if this was really the last thing we heard from Anet. It's interesting, but it always questions if this is a sign from the market or if it's just a company gone because I don't know, because they didn't bring enough products on the market with big enough hype. So if marketing was bad, if the products were bad, or if it's a general consolidation of the market.
I think it's that the last products that I've had a look at from Anet weren't actually good. So it might also have something to do with that. So I don't know.
All right, next one.
Definitely not a rumor this time. And that is that the East Coast RepRap Festival, aka ERRF, has given out dates, and it will happen as an in-person event October 8th to 9th, 2022. Same venue, it seems, in Bel Air, Maryland.
Cool. Might be the chance that I finally get to ERRF this year. Would be really looking forward to. I guess they shifted it quite a bit because usually ERRF was also like in the first or second quarter of the year. I think it's a good thing that they delayed it to like the end of summer. Might be easier with COVID and Omicron and whatever. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's things are so unpredictable right now.
Definitely.
It's okay that they're deciding to make plans for now. I guess they have to, because they're saying, hey, it's 260 days before it's happening. You can't plan an event within a month. Doesn't happen. So I guess there are what's the word? Positive about the thing happening. Let's hope they're not positive in too many other ways at the time. But we'll see. We'll see what happens until then.
Where have you been flying in last time? Washington or
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
And then I drove up. Oh, God, horrible drive. I had like a... some Toyota, I think, automatic... or Autotrans, of course, and just the constant brake gas, stop and go traffic with no radar cruise.
Okay.
Oh, my leg was so cramped up after those 3 hours in the car.
Okay.
Maybe fly in at not rush hour traffic time.
Yeah, I currently have to think, because I have been in the area, I think 2015 or 16 or something like that. And we drove from New York to Washington and then back to Boston. And I don't really remember that it was that bad, but maybe just
it was
the wrong
just
time
that one route.
Okay. I'm not sure anymore if I also took the I-95. I don't know anymore. I would be really looking forward to... Well, haven't been internationally traveling for the last 2.5 years.
Right.
I wanted to go back to Washington for ages and just like spend a week on the National Mall and properly visiting all of the Smithsonian museums. Maybe there's a chance for that at ERRF or after ERRF or before ERRF or something like that.
Yeah. Well, we shall see what's going on then. Yeah.
As far as I know, there aren't any news from MRF, the Midwest RepRap Festival so far. I think there were just questions, or there were questions about that, but there is no definitive date for that yet.
Would it be? But would that still be this year?
Well, MRF was usually, I think, in March. April.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. That would
and
be
last year it
soon.
was shifted by a couple of weeks, but it happened. But as far as I'm concerned, I think there isn't any date or information on MERV 2022 yet.
Okay.
Unfortunately. 2022. We will see.
So that is ERRF. That's ERRF, yeah. In-person events. That's going to be interesting again.
Yep. Good.
Should we maybe this one's going to be a bit of a bigger topic. Maybe just pull this one first.
Let's do that.
Stefan finally killed his first stepper driver. Was that one of the 25 steps in becoming a 3D printing addict? That list that's circulated on Twitter.
Maybe, but I think I have never killed a stepper motor driver, and I always thought it's a big myth that stepper motor drivers keep dying, and sorted in stepper motor drivers are a bad thing because you can't replace them anymore and things like that. But I basically restarted my old Artillery X1 and put it into my office for a couple of tests. It was working in the beginning, and then the extruder just stopped working, and I can't figure out why. I haven't pulled the stepper motor driver out, but I think that's basically the only thing left that could really be wrong, because it was working before. And the question
might just be a bad cable, might be a bad crimp somewhere that's coming loose.
But the thing that I did is I fed some filament. I have been moving the extruder a bit by hand, and then it just wasn't working anymore. And I basically didn't do anything else in between. I will check the wiring loom and everything, but so far I think it's a stepper motor driver. And the question was if you have ever killed a stepper motor driver, and you said
yeah, sure.
Dozens of times.
Well, not dozens, not dozens. But yeah, in the early days, in the old days, stepper motor drivers were quite a bit more sensitive to dying. I don't know if it was the drivers itself, but they were dying a lot more. In my case, because it didn't know what it was doing. So unplugging motors while stuff is powered up, that is a pretty good way to kill one. Okay. Because you've got this big old inductive load that you've got connected with long wires and all, and you unplug and replug that creates quite a bit of a spike, and that is a way to at least put a driver into the danger zone. The old Lego drivers, the A4988 or the A4982, I've killed some of those, and the first Trinamic drivers that were out there. Oh god, I forget what exactly they were called. But those are the ones that were actually known for being quite weak when it comes to being back driven. So by moving an axis by hand too quickly, as the myth goes, you create, well, as the myth, it's more of a truth in that case actually. You are feeding current backwards through the stepper driver, and for the earliest Trinamic drivers, you could actually buy like little adapter boards that went under your drivers and had some extra diodes on it. So if you would push the motor, the current would go through those diodes and not through the driver chip directly into the supply rails.
Okay.
Newer Trinamic drivers have been reinforced in that area, so they're much less likely to die from that.
Okay. Yeah, I always had the impression that the only way you can really kill a stepper motor driver is by moving it by hand, but I did that plenty of times. There was never something happening, so I thought, that's always it has been an urban legend. But it's nice to know. I don't know if really the stepper motor driver is killed now, but I will maybe give an update on that topic on the next episode.
Yeah, to diagnose really simple ways, just plug in the extruder into one of the other channels, plug it into X, Y, whatever, and move that. And if the motor still works, then it's the driver itself. If not, then there's something else wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, so a loose crimp or a bad wire or something, that is something that could cause what you're seeing, but it can also cause the driver to die because you're basically switching on and off that inductive load.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
Well,
we'll try that out later.
Cool, not cool, I don't know. Breaking stuff.
Well, breaking, yeah, but for me, it's always interesting to diagnose these things and learn what causes of specific symptoms could be. That's Absolutely. The interesting part.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I would like to use this machine as a tool at the moment, so I'm not really happy diagnosing that problem. But on the other hand, yeah, if I learn something, it's only half that bad.
Yeah. And something else you wanted to learn about is whether you should start a German channel or not. That's I keep shifting topics here.
It's probably the same with your channel, that you constantly get comments and maybe even emails on why aren't you releasing your videos also in German. Maybe it's not that obvious with your channel because your English is better, and I always have the Guten Tag and Auf Wiedersehen hook in my videos. So people
I don't get that much anymore. I used to get that quite a bit, but not anymore.
Okay. So I get that quite a lot. And I always said, yeah, it's not really worth the effort and yada, yada. But just thinking about translating my script, of course, that takes a bit of time, recording the script and then just putting the new audio under my video and just shifting everything a bit around.
Especially for your stuff, it's really, really simple. You don't have that much A-roll in there where you're just talking to camera. You have mostly voiceover.
Yeah. I do. So I'm really thinking of starting a German channel. I really want to start making German videos. The question I also posted on Twitter is, should I release those German videos also on my first channel? Should I start a set or should I start a second channel for that? At first I thought, just put them on the main channel because that gives more traffic. But on the other hand, I think I don't want to confuse people with
confuse people, and spam subscribers with with that. Yeah, have a that's the way I would go to. Have a different channel, make it clear from the channel name that this is your main channel, but in German. And do it like that.
So the idea now is, let's put it the other way. You also, that was ages ago, you made German and English videos, like in parallel.
And there's still on the channel.
Great Scott has been doing that for quite a while. And where I have really known it from was, do you know Der Bauer? German, like...
I feel like we've talked about this before.
Yeah, maybe. But I just checked Der Bauer today because one of his videos showed up in my timeline. And he also switched from posting videos in parallel on one channel to he actually opened a second channel, which is his English channel now.
Right. And have you checked how well that is doing in comparison to the main English channel?
Well, the main channel is now German.
Okay. Yeah.
The interesting thing there is I think he has around 400,000 subscribers on his main channel, which is now mainly German. And he has not a ton of subscribers on his English channel now. And I probably would have done it the other way around because for you and for me, our main audience is English speaking.
True. Well, he probably looked at it and was like, hey, this language is getting more views, so that should be the main channel now. As far as ratios go, I mean, I've uploaded videos in the very early days in German and English, and it was always like factor of 5 or factor of 7. That's the English videos were getting more views.
Yeah.
So that was the decision for me. Hey, this isn't worth it because it's still a lot of work to put in for scripting and editing.
And the additional thing is that if we take a look at our ad revenue, the ad revenue from the US and other English-speaking countries is double or 3 times the amount that we get from German views. So I think my CPM or RPM is around like 1 to 2 euros for German views. And it's 4 to 5 to, I don't know, something in that range for English-speaking countries. So you're getting less views on a video, and these views even pay less.
Yeah. I guess the US is just a lot more consumer happy.
Something like that. So the plan for me is actually, and I have already opened a second CNC Kitchen DE, a German channel. I want to prepare 3 videos before I publicize everything.
Right.
And then the plan is, so I have my 2-week schedule with videos. So in 1 week, release the English video. And then a week after that, the German video on the German channel.
The thing is also what you might need to think about is this taking away views from my main channel?
Exactly.
And I guess that's why I'm doing the staggered release.
Exactly.
And with YouTube and the algorithm controlling everything, it's like, hey, if you're drawing away, let's say even 5% of the audience from your original video, that's not just going to be a 5% difference in overall views. That is actually going to be multiplied, because now the algorithm sees, hey, this isn't getting that much interest, and it's even going to show it to less people who are not holding out for the German video. So
yeah, we'll see.
That's hard to quantify, though.
It's really hard to quantify. I just need to start with it at some point and really quantify how much effort I put in that and how much that impacts views and everything. But it might be the opportunity to open that market, because there are other German 3D printing channels that also have like 50 to 100,000 subscribers. So there is the market for that. And since we are starting to sell our products and things like that, and this is more like German and Europe centered, just due to logistics, I think it is quite of a good move to go into that direction, at least for me as a business.
I will be watching with great interest.
Oh, I'm really scared of hearing me talk German. I guess I'm not subscribed to almost any German YouTube channels.
Yeah, same.
Other than Harald Lesch or something like that. And I always have a bit of a cringe feeling when watching German videos. I don't know why, but I'm not that comfortable yet going that German round.
I mean, I think we've talked about that yet. I think we've talked about that before. But my impression with German versus English YouTube content is, because you have a wider audience on people who understand the English language, including most Germans. You can make more niche content. You don't have to make content that appeals to everyone.
Yeah.
So my impression of like the German YouTube scene is there's a lot of just superficial and clickbaity and very strongly leaning into entertainment only type of content.
Yeah.
Whereas the English-speaking stuff can be more niche and more in-depth, because overall you're going to find in absolute terms, you're going to find a bigger audience for that niche if you have, like I said, a bigger demographic that understands your videos.
Yeah.
So maybe that is some of the where some of the reluctance is coming from in making German-speaking or German language content. By the way, for people asking, yes, I am German too. So just to make that clear. Yeah.
We'll see. I'll let you know on how it goes.
Please do. And sticking on the topic of of channel decisions and businessing the crap out of YouTube sponsors, Stefan, you put that in there. You called it grinding, the good and bad of sponsors.
So yeah, I called it that way because last week was one of the weeks I guess I worked the most for ages. Well, we're just two days. But the thing, so if you don't if you as a listener of you don't know how it works with sponsors, you usually get a sponsor deal. You put that, I don't know, 60 to 90 seconds integration into your video. And that video needs to go to the marketing agency or to the company itself a couple of days prior to the release of the video. And I had a video almost finished for last Saturday. And then just on Thursday night, they told me that sponsor is not going to happen this month. We need to do something else. And I said, oh, sorry, not possible. There are just 2 days to go. I can't do anything else. But then just, thinking about the stuff I still have at home and whatnot, I thought, let's give it a try and try to make a proper video really within 1 or 1.5 days. So like Friday morning, I started looking for my PET filament that Joshua sent me, I don't know, 6 months back or something like that. I developed the printing profile. I developed print samples. I printed test parts just for the visual appeal. I wrote a video integration, and I was just working straight through for 14 hours. I was dead at night. But it worked. So what I meant with that is that sometimes sponsors are good in a way because they make me work way much than I think I'm capable of. They help me to overcome procrastination.
They create accountability.
They create accountability. And of course, they really help keep my channel running.
That's the entire point, right?
That's the entire point. But there's also the bad side that, as I told you before, many viewers or some viewers just don't like sponsored integrations. I do understand that. Sometimes this pressure that you have of just finishing a project at a certain point results in maybe not diving as deep into a topic as you would like, just because it has to be finished at some point. But on the other hand, it also at least helps me for finishing projects, documenting projects, even though they are not 100% perfect. But 95% is still better than not at all. So I don't know, what's your take on that topic?
The old 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sponsor. So I've had a sponsor on pretty much every single video for the last, I don't know, year or two. My mom's been really good at getting those on board and organizing everything. And they've been on that 2-week schedule, and I don't think I would have stuck to that 2-week schedule for the longest time. Well, the last couple of months were like, well, not months, but December was a 3-week schedule because like Christmas and stuff. But yeah, that it forces you to release stuff, right? It forces you to finish stuff. They pay well, so that's great. That is, I don't think without sponsors I would be able to run this channel full time, because they do make up a significant portion of my income. But what I think there are ways around it, but I think the biggest downside is that there is such a long lead time to everything now. So I put into our show notes here spontaneity. I thought it was spontaneity, but basically sponsors always want a topic. They always want you to decide, hey, Tom, I would like to book an integration for June this year. What video topics do you have for that? And I'm like, I don't know what topics I'm going to cover in June. But typically they're like 4 videos out. So that's like 1 or 2 months where they want to sponsor a video and they want to know the topic. So basically for a lot of stuff, you have to decide what topics you're going to cover for the next 2 months. And that does kill off the opportunity to, I don't know, cover a new slicer release or cover the quantum filaments, the 2-color filaments that everyone's raving about, or just a new development. Anything in that regard is going to go on top of the videos you're already making. And also, any spontaneous topics are not going to have a sponsor, so they pay less. It pays less to make those videos. So it is a bit of a trade-off to make. For some channels where I don't know, stuff made here, I think would not work if it was, hey, we need a 3-month schedule for your stuff, and we need a deadline, because for his stuff, it just needs to be done. Does the project, it needs to be done for the even being a video to be released. The video doesn't exist if the project isn't done, right?
Yeah.
And you can't force the project to be done.
Yeah.
So if you make that clear, and if you make the sponsorship deals with that in mind, and you're saying, hey, you don't get a deadline, but you get like a rough range, like plus minus 3 weeks, basically, where it's going to be finished, and probably it's going to be this topic, then that can bring some of that spontaneity back. But for, again, that's bigger projects. Yeah, it's not a black or white easy decision, right?
I guess for me it's a bit different than for you, because you work a lot with sponsors that are in the maker and 3D printing range. I work a lot with just like generic companies, Squarespace, Audible, whatever. So for me, there isn't usually a requirement for a specific topic, or they aren't looking for specific topics. So they just say, we want to have 100,000 views within the first 30 days of the video. So it's a bit the other way around, that I think, okay, what topic could I cover that would generate at least the 100,000 views within that time?
So,
which sometimes lets specific topics fall under the table.
Exactly.
Because if you have really niche content, which is super nice, but just interesting to a couple, those aren't videos that sometimes get made just because sponsors don't want them.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, same thing. If you want to spontaneously cover a topic, like you can't, because you're not getting paid for that, essentially. Or you're getting paid less. Yes, there's still Patreon, there's still ad revenue, there's still all of that. But it's still, if there's no sponsor on the video, it's still less. There's still you're still missing out. What was I going to say about the so with sponsors from the 3D printing range or market, what I do have to keep an eye out for is, hey, is there some sort of a conflict of interest? Like, are you testing, I don't know, are you testing an E3D Revo and you've got a sponsorship from Slice Engineer on there? That's something that I've tried to avoid, and so far successfully have avoided. Because you're sending mixed messages in that regard.
So for me, usually the requirement is just, it has to be non-controversial. Or there are, of course, if I talk about Squarespace, of course I am not allowed to make a video about how to make a website with the Wix. I don't know, something like that. Which goes in the same direction as you just said. But again, for me, just the topic of sponsors helps me run this channel and now do it almost full time. But it also helps me to not procrastinate, because I'm a huge procrastinator. I don't know, I started playing Battlefield 2042 again, and I would like to play way more. But if I know that something needs to be finished, I say, okay, maybe don't play that game at the moment, finish your work. So this is not only benefiting me as getting more income in the end, but it's also benefiting the viewers because I work more.
Yeah.
And I finish stuff. And I concentrate on the things that are important and not the things that are maybe not that important.
Yeah, you get stuff done. That is very much important in that regard.
Okay. Voron.
And if you don't like sponsors, you can always skip them. You can always skip forward, right? on the phone. It's literally just tap, 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 and you're through.
Maybe one last question before we go to Voron. I'm really asking myself how long YouTube still allows that business model, because they are missing out on so much revenue. And I'm really asking myself if either at some point they start, I don't know, charging you a fee if you have a sponsor on a video and you don't know, have to apply for having a sponsor in a video, or if they are starting acting as a marketing agency and working directly with you and not just placing generic ads on your videos. But YouTube is missing out on so much revenue. And I'm really asking myself, when will there be the time that YouTube wants a piece of that pie?
The thing is, if they start doing that, they're killing off their own site more than they are already killing off their own site.
But if they're still earning more with that, they don't really care.
Well, if they lose all their creators because they're saying, well, screw that, I'm going somewhere else. They've already been making some bad decisions. With dislike button. So I wouldn't doubt that they would make that bad decision too, but it's just I don't think they. Nah, I just don't think that's.
I'm not sure. Well, I'm just taking a look at the ratio between what I earn from normal ad revenue in comparison to what I earn with a sponsor. It is a significant amount, and
true.
If I would be YouTube, I would be thinking about how can I get some of that to make our investors happy.
Well, if it comes to that,
just something that popped up in my head.
There's always TikTok, right?
There's always TikTok, but you don't basically earn anything on TikTok. So.
Oh, brand deals. Or Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. I don't know. I'm too ugly for that, I guess.
Just make pretty prints. You can do that.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of a tangent. What we try to do is, well, your channel and mine is to have informative and critical content that is, that basically. How do I say this respectfully? Basically, what I'm trying to say is looking at someone like Film and Frenzy, whose entire thing is creating pretty prints and just showing positivity, and who's made a business model out of that, as far as I understand. That would be such a more pleasant experience, I think. Yeah. Just being able to focus on purely positive things, creating pretty stuff, making, instead of having to be critical. I don't know. Sounds nice.
Well, there's still the option for you to take another route.
Yeah. I don't know, but this could become a rather large tangent, and I'm starting to feel exhausted already. Yeah. So let's maybe skip this one and jump into some comments, because I'm sure we've got enough to talk about there. So Vorpal is asking, Stefan, how did you go with your T-Star dye stamping idea for creating high flow nozzles?
So this was part of, I think, the adding a specific structure into 3D printing nozzles to increase the surface area. So I don't have a broach for my lathe yet to, for example, add a hex shape or something like that. But I have seen other people really just shoving Torx bits into nozzles to create a specific shape in there. Also a way to go.
If the shoe fits.
Not the prettiest, but if it works, why not? Might be a way to do it. Maybe, I don't know. The problem is with the 1.75 millimeter nozzles and filament, it's kind of hard because it's really tiny, but you could maybe rework a 1.75 millimeter nozzle to be bigger in the end and then use it with 3 millimeter filament. Still something I could investigate at some point. But didn't do any much work in that direction. at the moment.
Okay. Masi Khan is asking, I'm going to shorten this one down because it is quite a long comment. Basically asking about bio-degradability of PLA. And the common consensus seems to be PLA does not biodegrade under common composting environments. But he did a test and buried a printed PLA planter in his composting pile. And within a week, it was completely decomposed. So he says his compost pile reaches over 60 degrees Celsius. At the core, PLA does become soft at that point, and within a week, that print was gone, whereas the one he just buried in the soil was still there after a week. So, Stefan, you've got some thoughts and some opinions on that.
Yes, I actually do, because the video that was planned for last Saturday was on the topic of putting 3D prints in my compost pile for 100 days. So this has been a project I wanted to do for ages, but this summer I actually buried a couple of prints I did with different filaments, different bio-based filaments, and kind of biodegradable filaments. Just put them in my compost. It's not the best compost pile, but it's not the worst. It makes good compost every year.
It's an average compost pile, right?
It is warm in the middle, and what happened is that the PLA parts... Is that focusing?
Yeah.
It's focusing. PLA parts, they deformed because they got warm, but otherwise nothing really happened to the PLA parts. Of course, if you have an even better compost pile with higher temperature, other microbes, things could happen, but I'm quite sure that within a week, a PLA part doesn't really disintegrate. So even with those thin plastic bags that are claimed to be compostable and sometimes sold as compost waste bags, many industrial composting plants don't want to have them in their composting pile because even under industrial conditions, these really thin bags take weeks to decompose, and the rate of decomposition is more or less a function of the thickness. So thin material will disintegrate way faster.
So you're basically saying there's no way that within a week a PLA part could have been chewed up by a compost.
I'm quite sure I would
compost pile.
Bet a crate of beer on that.
I mean, there still could be the option that, yes, there was some microbe life in that compost pile that was like very specifically suited to decomposing PLA. Might also be the option that the part was just lost in the compost pile, or that some critter actually decided, hey, this is something I want as a chewing toy. Squirrels are known to chew on like PLA bird feeders and stuff. So could be that. I don't know. Yeah.
So maybe also one interesting point is, so for example, if you leave just PLA parts out in the sun and in the environment, PLA parts might still fall apart, but that's not biodegradation. That's just degradation generating microplastics. And not, so biodegradation or composting means that your part is converted into water, CO2, biomass, and I forget the fourth one. Whatever.
Energy?
Minerals. Minerals. Yeah, of course, energy. And there is really this distinction between just degeneration and just breaking apart into little bits. That's not composting, or that's just generating microplastics. You still have the long polymer chains. Or composting, where you really take a polymer, break it down to its basically its molecules, and therefore really getting it out of the environment. There are really interesting polymers. So during my research, I found them, which are oxo oxo-degenerative plastics or oxoplastics where there are metal salts in the polymer that help. I think they're, for example, used on fields to cover the fields that not that much herbs grow there, just your normal plants. But due to the metal salts that are in the plastic, they help that this plastic falls apart quite quickly. But that doesn't mean that those polyethylene or polypropylene sheets have been composted.
Yeah.
You just have a bunch of really small parts.
You're just creating microplastic really fast.
Yeah, you're just creating microplastic, which is kind of nasty.
Yeah. So it's oxo-degradable. Yeah, I just had a quick look at the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Basically, the UV light,
Yeah.
or heat or oxygen
Yeah.
starts that reaction. Not
So
not
maybe to
biodegradable
conclude that question, PLA, it is biodegradable, but it's only biodegradable if you have very certain conditions, and temperature is very important, because with the temperature and the water in the compost pile, you first have hydrolyzation of the polymer. So the long polylactic acid polymers break down into smaller chunks, and then they can be eaten by the bacteria and the enzymes that they produce.
It would be interesting if it would be possible to create basically your own fermentation tank, basically for PLA, kind of like you do a sourdough starter, right?
Yeah.
Where you just have your flour and water, and just you let grow whatever wants to grow in there, and then you keep feeding your feedstock, your flour in that case. Whether that would work for PLA too, where you take maybe as a starter a bit of your compost pile, a bit of semi-composted matter, chuck it into PLA and just keep feeding it PLA and see what microorganisms start living in there and start breaking down the PLA.
Yeah. So my plan actually for this year is to buy another composter that is capable of producing higher temperatures. It's barrel composter that you aerate more, and with the more air, you give the aerobe microbes more the possibility to grow and work. And I hope to reach the 60 or 70 degrees necessary for the PLA, and maybe at the end of this year, I'm able to say, okay, it was possible for me to biodegrade PLA parts.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what sort of microbes still live at 60 degrees. There's
still bacteria and stuff like that.
Okay.
Thermophile bacteria or something like that.
Okay.
That work at these temperatures.
Okay. Could be very interesting experiments.
Yeah.
All right. And I think with that, we have today's episode in the box. Very nice. So, as always, Stefan, thank you for the time.
Thank you for yours.
If you enjoyed the episode, you can support Stefan or me on Patreon. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channels. You can subscribe to this show on YouTube, or listen, I guess technically, on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. Yeah. Anything to add?
Nope. If you have questions, put them down in the comments, and we try to answer them in the next episode that airs.
Absolutely. All right, then thank you all for watching or listening, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.